I was watching a video on YouTube the other day by an account called Dad in Dark Mode called "We Were Raised by Women Who Hated Men." And one of the phrases in the comment section that I had thrown at me in my childhood, and I was so surprised how many men had this thrown at them when they were young boys, the phrase, "You're just like your father." Now, feminism should be, according to the dictionary, all about equality, that men and women should have equal opportunities to whatever job they want, whatever study they want, however they live their lives. And I don't think anyone of sound mind would disagree with that. However, in reality, and I'm not just saying that it's the latest perversion, but in reality, it is much more of a hatred towards men. It's a misandry movement. Because even from the 1970s second wave feminism, you had authors like Marilyn French saying all men are rapists. And what women who take on board this ideology tend to do is see all men as a group. I think in general, in today's world, the idea of hating men is very, very accepted. You can see TikToks and Instagram videos of women just screaming how much they hate men, how men are shit. And many of these women go on to raise young children. And they don't suddenly change their tune. A lot of them don't. A lot of them really believe this. It's not just something they're doing for clicks and validation.
My problem is that I hate men.
One of you wrote in and asked, how do I date men when I hate men? Girl, I feel you. If your first instinct is to see this one video and say, why do you hate men? What rock are you living under? It's not personal. It's just sort of a general thing. It doesn't matter if individual men are nice guys or not nice guys. Just in general, I see them all as ignorant because none of them will ever truly be able to understand me. And that's not a personal thing. Stop making it personal.
So even though 99.9% of men are not committing rapes, all men are held responsible for it because apparently we should be able to teach other men not to rape. It's not a case of these men are being raised as psychopaths, very often by single mothers, but it's like there's this great big male telepathic network where one man can influence the behaviors of another man, even if he's never met him, even if he would never hang out with a guy like that. And it's completely crazy because it completely dissolves the whole concept of an individual being responsible for their own actions. And in being able to paint a broad brush over all men, that tends to include boys. And what many women do, what I experienced, what many of the men in the comment section there experienced, was their mother taking out the anger they had against their father, or against men in general, against them as little boys, because they were a soft target, that they would not be able to, or would willfully never stand up for themselves against being blamed for something that they didn't do. To be told that their male nature is a problem. I remember being told, all men are the same, you're going to be just like your father, or you are just like your father, that she wishes she had daughters because they are so much more loyal and faithful to their mother, and boys just go off and do whatever they want. And I overcame that by becoming a doormat, that I believed whatever a woman would tell me. I would assume that I was always the problem and never the woman. And it got me walked all over. I became completely devoid of any ability to stand up for myself. And my younger brother ended up becoming a trans woman. We both defeated this problem of masculinity in our own ways. In my case, I was lucky to be able to go to therapy, to get coaching, to be able to have experiences where I got to deprogram myself. But honestly, it's something that I am continuing to work on, and I will continue to work on it for my entire life. Because at one level, you get used to, you overcome the problems of hiding your masculinity when you go to talk to a girl, but then they crop up later when you are in a relationship. Because as children, when we're told that our very nature is the problem, we just end up hating ourselves, not even as an emotion, but just we box off parts of ourselves that are absolutely part of who we are and who we need to be in the world, and we become a false version of ourselves. We become someone that we try to demonstrate how safe we are because we're told that we're dangerous as men. I became like a complete and utter puppy dog. I would be the guy with mainly female friends. I would be in the friend zone, never in a relationship for my teens and early 20s. And then that left me very vulnerable to being taken advantage of in my first ever relationship, as many people who have seen my YouTube channel know. It's such a bad setup. And unless you have a very healthy dynamic between your mother and your father, the things that are going to seem obvious to someone who was raised in a healthy environment where they saw healthy masculinity and healthy femininity, those things that are obvious to, say, most people, maybe not most people, but what you're assumed to be, what you're assumed to know as a man, you don't know anything about that. You have to learn it from scratch as an adult, what you should have been inherently programmed with as a child. And it's a lot of work. Because when you're a child, your brain is so much like a sponge and you just soak up everything. But if you've soaked up poison against who you are, then it's going to take a lot to overcome that. I think for myself, being able to be coached by other men who have been through the journey was really important. And I think this is also why men really need male friendships. Because they get to be around other men and they get to see that perhaps their own way of looking at the world is not the only way. When it comes to dating, many men who were raised to be nothing like their father find that women have no interest in them at all because they were raised to be the person that their mothers wish their father would be, in theory. But if they ever met a person like that, they wouldn't have been attracted to him because he may not have been a bully, but he also never stood up for himself. He may not have been dangerous, but he was also never able to make her feel safe. And I think when boys are raised, first of all, to not be dangerous rather than to actually be themselves, then there's no self that a woman can attach onto and love. How can she love you for who you are when you are hiding who you are? And so this is a way in which parents really can completely sabotage their children's lives. They may never get to have children because they were raised to be safe. They may never really experience love from a woman in their life because they were raised to hide who they really are. And it's tragic. So if any of this has resonated with you, I really hope that you are doing the work to heal yourself. I recommend the book No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. That is probably the seminal work on nice guy syndrome, which arises from trying to be nicer than any other man. And also really speak to men who are solid and well-rooted in their masculinity. Because you need good examples and you kind of learn from each other naturally. Men doing things together learn from other men. And so don't allow yourself to fall into this modern society convention of being stuck at home alone and isolated from other people. Anyway, I hope this video is useful to someone. I didn't really plan it out very detailed. I just wanted to riff on my thoughts because I haven't made a video in a while. If you found this video helpful, please like and feel free to comment anything that you want to expand on. Maybe I'll make more videos on this topic. And also, if you have liked any of my videos, please click the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon, because otherwise YouTube doesn't really tell you when I've released a new video. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. Take care.